Some relationships make you feel like you're already losing the second you open your eyes in the morning, right? Everything you do is wrong. It's not enough. It's slightly off. Every single thing you do, you just feel wrong all the time. So you try harder, you be better, you fix yourself more, you become more supportive, less this, more that. You're shape-shifting yourself, but yet you still always feel like you're losing. You're always the problem. It is exhausting to be in a relationship like this. Now, the truth is, a healthy relationship, it's not about winning and losing. I think actually, if you look at any baseline conflict resolution model, the fact that you care about winning tells you that you probably don't value the relationship as much as you value winning. That's an obvious problem. But women find themselves in relationships like this every single day. My name is Lisa Sonni. I'm an expert in toxic and abusive relationships. I'm a certified relationship coach. I've written 4 books, and I help women every single day exit bad, toxic, abusive relationships, find themselves again, rebuild, and live wonderfully happy lives without an abusive man. Hit subscribe so you don't miss more videos where I expose the tactics of abusive men. Now, healthy relationships should not be competitions, right? It's not about winning and losing. You're not supposed to have a winner of an argument or a loser of an argument. One could argue that you are meant to collaborate and compromise. Something kind of interesting about compromise is that in many cases, one person is still feeling like they're losing, or worse, 2 people both feel like they're losing. But in a collaborative effort, you're both focused on each other's needs and wants and listening to each other. You care about each other's feelings, and you come to some kind of middle ground, or one person gets what they want because the other person feels convinced and it makes sense and everybody feels like they're happy in the relationship or gaining something. But that's not how an abusive relationship works at all. You're not on the same team in a relationship like that. With an abusive man, with an antagonistic man, everything becomes a contest. And it's a contest that you lose. Now, there's a lot of ways that abusive men do this. And you need to stick around and listen, because there are a lot of these things that are probably showing up in your relationship, because a lot of these are very covert. You might not even notice them, but there's a lot of tactics that really, really work. Being right matters more to an abusive man than actually understanding you. It really is so important to them to win. It makes them feel powerful, dominant, smart, superior, and they love all that. Having the upper hand matters more than actually having a connection. You value connection. You value peace, collaboration, compromise. That's not something that an abusive man is interested in, because they want to pull one over on you. They want to win. Now, here are some tactics that they use, and I'm saving the most crazy-making one for last. So the first one is kind of interesting because it's a little bit of a 2-part one. So it's called double binds, but there's something even worse that's a little bit deeper than your basic double bind. Now, a double bind is basically that no matter what you do, you lose. So they create scenarios where whatever decision you make, whatever word you use, whatever choice you make, whatever behavior you display is wrong. So it doesn't matter if you go down this path, you're wrong. You go down that path, you're wrong, no matter what. And it honestly leads you to just be like, okay, forget it, never mind. And you just retreat. You become the worst version of yourself. There's no point in speaking up anymore because you lose. A good example would be a man that's like, we just need to communicate better. But then when you communicate, he punishes you for being honest. He punishes you for talking about your feelings. You just have to tell me how you feel. And then you're like, okay, well, that hurt my feelings.
Oh, you're so ridiculous. All you ever do is whine about your feelings.
All these things, right? And it could obviously be much more subtle and covert than that, but that's the kind of framework, no matter what. So communicate better, but when you communicate better, that's a problem too. You can't win. That's a double bind. Now, a lot of people don't really realize on the surface that they're doing this, that they're creating double binds. But I want to be clear that if you say, I feel like I can't win, or you label it as a double bind, if you do anything to bring this to the surface, you say you want communication, but then you get mad at me when I communicate. That is the point where you say they know what they're doing, and we accept that it's intentional. We accept that they absolutely know what they're doing. But what I'm saying is that a lot of abusive men maybe don't wake up and they're like, I'm going to use a double bind. I don't think they know to that level, but they do know that they're creating a framework in which they win and you lose. But the deeper piece of this is a sadistic double bind. This is when they absolutely know that they are creating situations where you can't win, and they love watching you squirm and they love watching you defend yourself. It's sadistic because they are enjoying the torment that they're putting you through. That is deeper, much more sick. And I think we are not using the word sadistic enough to describe abusers that are doing these things on purpose, because that's exactly what it is. Another way that they do it is that they use constant correction, right? You're not quite right. You didn't use quite the right word. You're always just a little bit off, or you're always just wrong. They're always offering you ways that you could be better or do something differently, like dinner just needed more salt, or you should have just worn a different outfit, or if you had just used a different word, or if you had just brought up this issue at a different time, right? It's the sort of cliche example of like, you're going to argue with me right when I get home from work? Oh my God, you're bringing it up in another argument. This is something they do so often, right? They tell you you're dogpiling into one argument. You need to separate the issues. But then if you bring up the issue at a later date, why are you making a good day a bad day by bringing up stuff that happened 3 days ago? So you can't win. Really brings you back to the double bind. But the point is, it's never the right time. It's never the right word. It's never the right moment. You're always just a little bit or completely wrong. And the last way that is the most crazy making is the circular conversation, right? They can use a lot of things like narcissistic word salad, semantic abuse, anything that just kind of trips you up and keeps you going in an argument. So you end up running in circles. You feel very defensive. You feel like you're constantly litigating in your own relationship. You're debating something. They keep going. They're relentlessly coming at you. Now, not all abusers use this tactic, right? Many will stonewall and withdraw and go quiet, and that can be incredibly painful for people. But there are plenty of people that use this tactic that's much more like, I'm just going to talk at you relentlessly in circles. I'm going to say the same thing in different words and bring something up that I said I understood 2 minutes ago and tell you that I don't in fact understand it, that you're not making sense, and you're losing it in a conversation like this, but it's meant to go in circles. It's meant to wind you up and make you feel crazy. The argument never ends, and yet the entire time, it's just a repetition of how this is your fault. It's you. You caused the problem. You're wrong. You're not enough this, not enough that. If you had just this, if you had just that, it keeps you going and going and going. These circular arguments are intended for there to never be a clear end so that you keep going until you're exhausted and give up. And that's when they feel that you're being compliant. But actually, you're just exhausted. It's tiny little things, right? But the constant message is you're failing. The amount of work that women are doing to jump through these hoops. And honestly, I'm thinking of this perfect example where I was always responsible for packing for vacations. So it was always on me to take an empty suitcase, pack his things, pack my things, and he would not participate in this at all. Like, babe, you know what I need. And then when we get there, it's like,
You didn't pack my blue shorts? You know I need my blue shorts. What's wrong with you? How could you do this? What am I supposed to wear?
getting all angry, meanwhile, refused to participate in the entire thing. Meanwhile, I lose because it doesn't matter, right? I packed the beige shorts, the black shorts, but that wasn't right. Everything gets put on me, but I'm the problem because I didn't anticipate his needs. So instead of, gratitude for things that their wives and girlfriends are doing for them, they need to prove that you're wrong. They need you to feel baseline wrong all the time because it proves to them that you're open to their reality. You need to be living in their little world of cognitive distortions. That's exactly where they want you because then you're relying on him for what's real. And what's real is you failed at packing. You failed to make your point. You weren't supportive enough. Dinner wasn't quite right. You didn't pick the right restaurant. You didn't something. It's always you. And if you feel like you're failing him, you're going to keep trying to meet this expectation. And you keep working harder and harder and harder, but you can never actually win. You can never actually succeed in a relationship like this because even if you met his unmeetable standards, you would still feel like you didn't because he would tell you that you didn't. He would tell you that he never even asked you to meet those standards to begin with, because they're supreme gaslighters. If you're right, he loses his power, whether it's in the moment or fully in the relationship. You can't be right. You being right makes him wrong, and often they can't really tolerate being wrong, even when it's something small. So the goal for a man like this becomes, never let this happen. Never let her think she's right. Always keep her trying, keep her guessing, keep her putting effort into the relationship, all so that he doesn't have to. The goalpost keeps moving, the standard keeps moving so that you're always wrong. I'm always reminded of this really sarcastic example of the game Bamboozled from the TV show Friends from the 90s. Joey was playing the host, for those that don't know, right? And Chandler and Ross were playing the contestants. And I tell you, not one person there understood the rules of the game. But that's kind of the point. It felt like Joey kept changing the rules nonstop, and everybody else was trying to keep up with the rules changing. That's what it feels like. You're literally being bamboozled. He doesn't even know the rules, because the rules are, I win, you lose. So anything that supports a constant, I win and you lose, that's the rules. They can never stay the same, because if you could learn the rules, you might beat the game. Actually, the trick to winning a game against a narcissist is to not play. You keep trying to solve the problem. You think that being calm will help or explaining it will help. You'll try harder next time. You'll word it better next time. You'll bring it up at the right time next time. You're playing fair, but he's playing to win. That sets you up for failure every single time. So I know that it feels like you're losing. It is a constant game of losing. And who wants to be in a relationship like that? They're so exhausting. But you're actually not losing because you're failing. You're losing because the game is rigged. You're meant to lose. You will never win in a relationship like this. And again, let's all kind of circle back. Healthy relationships are not about winning and losing. You shouldn't feel like that. You should feel like it's give and take. You should feel a sense of reciprocity. But somebody who needs to win, they're always going to make you wrong. Always. You can't win a relationship that was designed for you to lose. So at some point, you stop asking how to win and you ask instead, why do I keep playing this game? If this has resonated with you, hit subscribe. This is what I talk about on my channel, abusive and toxic relationships. And I give tips and tricks for women to find their way out of relationships like this. And if you want to talk about this, if you want to process this much more deeply, then I invite you to work with me in one-on-one coaching sessions. You can sign up for my group programs, or you can join me inside my online community called She Rises Collective that I co-host with therapist Shelly Pumphrey for 24/7 support. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.